So Vigilantes, Arrow's final season is not too far away now, so I thought it would be time to bring in everything we know. So I've done lots and lots of digging to bring every little detail that I can about what we know so far going into Arrow Season 8 into one video. So if you want to know all little kind of bits that may surprise you, you may have already heard before, but you'll probably hear one or two new things, this is the video to watch. What is up, Vigilantes? Welcome to a brand new Arrow video. I haven't done one in a couple of weeks since the Comic-Con trailer, to be honest, but I thought this would be a good one to kick off and just put all the news in a collective place in one video. So I've been watching, and as I said in the intro, I've been digging and digging. I've been watching probably almost any coverage from Comic-Con or at the TCAs, any kind of commentary from any cast member, and I've try to put the most notable things in one video. So don't get me wrong, I might miss a tiny detail or two, but these are at least the top things that you should know going into Arrow Season 8. But if you just kind of want a checkpoint from like mid-August, I guess, before it airs, October 15th, so I'll do a part 2 if there's a bunch of new information that comes out before then, which, you know, there's probably gonna be some, but before I go on with this video, guys, like this video if you do go on to enjoy it, and make sure you hit that subscribe button to never miss out on an Arrow Season 8 update video on something that you will probably want to know about. So, beginning with what Arrow is like. Arrow in the final season is more of a tribute season. I'm sure you guys have already heard this before, but I wanted to make, you know, this video is called mostly everything that we know, so I'm going to maybe reiterate a couple of things. It's kind of a tribute season, a victory lap, since Arrow Season 7 was its last Arrow season as you know it. Also due to the pacing of this season being completely different, with 10 episodes rather than 22, it feels like a lot more cinematic, and more like a movie as they described it. That is like very, very exciting to hear, that every single episode is going to be basically insane on a cinematic level. You know, it does make sense going from 22 to 10 episodes, so seriously get major hype for every episode. There's not really going to be a fillery episode in Arrow's final season. Now, the next thing on the list I've got written down here is there will be a lot of things from the past. And if you're wondering, by the way, for like, if you're wanting to hear new things that you may not have heard about, that will be coming later on. This is in kind of no particular order, and I want to kind of rehash the stuff you may have already heard, but still, this might be new to some of you. And obviously, this includes returning characters. This is its last season, and with all of the stuff that we know and the context that we have, you know, whether that's the Paradise Dimension and you name it, you can be betting damn right that we'll be seeing some amazing, legendary characters from the first few seasons. So from what we know from the San Diego Comic-Con trailer, we have Tommy Merlin, Adrian Chase, and on a quick note on what Colin Donnell said about Tommy with regards to his role in Season 8, is that I think fans will get to see Tommy in a way that we have maybe wanted to see him for a while. So, you know, on the top of my head, ways that fans have wanted to see Tommy, whether that's from speculation is, oh, Prometheus Tommy back in Season 5, we've wanted to see a vigilante-esque version of this guy. So whether that's obviously a Dark Archer version, you know, which technically isn't the vigilante that maybe you may be thinking about, or more accurately for a vigilante, the Green Arrow. Obviously, we see him in the new trailer, but guys, we're going to be probably getting a badass version of Tommy Merlin from likely another Earth this season. And so insert your theories down in the comments below. But what about other returning characters that we know as of right now, as of when I'm making this video, that are coming back in Arrow Season 8 that weren't really in that sizzle reel trailer? Because as you all know, most of that trailer shown at San Diego Comic-Con was a like recap, and they are the following. So Tatsu, aka Katana, will be returning in episode 2, titled Welcome to Hong Kong. Other characters such as Moira Queen in the premiere. So honestly, it seems as though Oliver is going to be kind of going back in time with the Monitor throughout the season, and that will make a lot more sense in terms of that speculation with all of the other things that we'll get to in this video. It makes it very interesting. For example, here's another one, which I was going to mention later, but Oliver will be using his Season 1 bow in Season 8, the final season. Obviously, you knew that, but that's interesting because the Dark Archer broke it. So, like, how's he got it? There's so many more things like that that I'm going to say that will make you think a whole wide range of interesting opportunities with likely time travel, because I don't know how else he's going to do it. But we will have others, guys. This is the last season, so they're going to try and bring back as many people as they can, like the biggest hits. However, it will be hard to pull off every single actor, so you may have heard recently that Manu Bennett's Deathstroke isn't returning, just for those interested, which I'm sure is a lot of you. But never say never, but for quite now it's unlikely. He said he hasn't been asked to return back to the show. And the same, similar thing with Roy Harper from Colton Haynes. Now, Colton Haynes will not be a series regular like he was last season in the final season of Arrow, but he will likely appear because he tweeted this out because obviously a lot of you guys, a lot of fans in general were like, what the heck, what's going on? You're not even appearing, because that'd be crazy to not see Roy Harper in the final season. Well, he said, you know, what I just said, but he also added on that Roy is never gone for too long. So for those of you who are worrying that he won't appear at all, well, just judging by that comment, he will appear at least somehow, in one way or another. And just in reference to the whole theory crafting, and as I said, guys, I would seriously love to hear your theories about what all of this could mean, putting the pieces of the puzzle together. But Stephen Amell teased that there is a scene in the Queen Mansion that he's incredibly fond of. So as I said, start your theory crafting here. I mean, could he pretend to be Oliver in the past and have a scene with his mother? I mean, just due to knowing that Moira Queen is in the premiere, or another character who has since passed in the show, just kind of for that feelsy moment on screen. Now, Stephen Amell at the point in Comic-Con said that he'd already read episodes 1, 2, and 3, and he explained how they are very self-contained, in that episode 1 is its own thing, as well as the others. We also found out that, like, episode 1 is an ode to season 1, and the following episodes being tributes to other seasons. Like, obviously, episode 2, titled Welcome to Hong Kong, is obviously going to be a reference to when we saw that with Oliver in his past, knowing that Katana is going to be in it. So just think along those lines. But Oliver, in the first 3 episodes as well, what Stephen Amell teased us with is that he will get closure with 5 characters that he doesn't think that we ever thought he would get closure with, in very unexpected ways. And he also added that maybe they don't know it, but he knows it, as in like Oliver knows it. So this, in my mind, guys, as I said, insert theory crafting, but Oliver, you know, whether it's through his bidding of the Monitor, will have the opportunity to go back in time. I think the Queen Mansion is quite a big pointer to that. Moira Queen, yeah, all of these things we already can put the pieces of the puzzle together with. And through visiting these people, I'm guessing he will look, you know, the same to them. Obviously, he might be pretending to be an earlier Oliver, and he might get closure through these characters through seeing them again. I found this one interesting in the fact that when they get into the early part of Arrow Season 8, Oliver somewhat questions himself in the sense of, what does he actually know about the Monitor? Should he really trust him? Is he really going to put everything on the line for this guy? So I'm looking forward to more exploration and a little bit of kind of drama maybe between those two. Next one is that after being asked about how Oliver is coping without Felicity in this season, he responded that he's doing okay, and he stands by his decision, but he goes on to say that Oliver is very emotionally distraught in the first episode because he unexpectedly loses someone. Now, take that as you will, but I'm going to keep saying this to maybe every other kind of fact or piece of information that I say in this video. Theory craft down below. Now, how about Renee? So as far as what is going on with Renee in Season 8, he said that you've never seen Renee in this way in the very first episode of Season 8, which in another interview he teases as stepping more into the future of Mayor Renee and the beginning of his political aspirations, you know, just basically how he became mayor, and they will even be outlining a strain between him and Zoe. So obviously, this is really interesting to see. This is a thing that came with the flash forwards. We would have to have wondered at some point, like last year, which probably many of us did, is like, when are we going to see these characters take those steps to become the future characters? So it looks like we're getting that, and I'm looking forward to the same thing with other characters like Dinah and everyone else. So a lot of you may know this already. I'm going to give you a few Katie Cassidy or Laurel Lance facts. So she will be directing episode 3 of Arrow Season 8, titled Leap of Faith. And we can't forget that Laurel has a new costume this season. So from watching interviews with Katie Cassidy, I think for now I'm ruling out that this is another Earth's Laurel. I just remember from the Arrow Season 8 trailer, a lot of people, I may be out of date with this, a lot of people might not think this anymore, but a lot of people were thinking in that trailer, in the sizzle reel, that new Laurel costume might be a Black Canary from another Earth. I'm more along the lines now that this is basically the redeemed Black Siren turned Canary. Katie Cassidy also explains how this Laurel now, you know, the one we've had who's been redeemed, is that Laurel this season is more as if Laurel never died in the first place, but also while keeping, of course, the edginess of Black Siren that we've come to know and love. Another thing with Laurel is apparently that in the season premiere, this is coming from the actors themselves, Laurel has a team member, which they couldn't tease or mention who, but in other interviews, I'm just trying to combine things together now, they mentioned that Laurel will help and align herself with Oliver's mission to save the multiverse. So perhaps given what we know now about the premiere episode and Queen Mansion being involved, if there is time travel, perhaps Laurel has to go with Oliver to blend in. I say this as well because Stephen Amell teased that Oliver is doing the Monitor's bidding and is doing it alone, but after a familiar encounter, he realizes that he's not going to be allowed to do it alone. So who knows? That was total speculation at this point. I mean, what I just said is what Stephen Amell just said. So I'm just adding one and one together. It could mean anything else, but what if the new Black Canary now teams up with the Green Arrow in the first episode? That would be sweet. Now, what about David Ramsey plays Diggle? On top of Katie Cassidy directing an episode this season, David Ramsey will be directing another episode this season like he did last season. And he also said that if there's ever a season for large doses of Oliver and Diggle, this season will be it. He also has answered that Diggle's ties to the Green Lantern mythos will be answered this season, amongst having more connection and time with his sons, exploration with his father and his wife Lila. Speaking of Diggle's sons, we have Charlie Barnett joining this season as a series regular as John Diggle Jr., as some of you may remember from last season, is the leader of the Deathstroke gang in the flash forward scenes. We actually saw him fighting Connor Hawke in the Arrow Season 8 trailer with the very brief footage that we got at the end. Another interesting question that has been on a lot of people's minds ever since we got the flash forwards is that one interviewer posed a question, what about, will we ever see Diggle in the future? So he said in response to that, probably not immediately, but you will know what's happened or happening. So this just makes me think that could Diggle be dead by the time we see Connor Hawke in the future? I mean, obviously we know that Diggle was around through their childhood, but as an absent parent, from the comments that Connor Hawke was making, trying to relate to Mia, he always said that his parents were out trying to save the world and stuff, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Diggle doesn't die at some point there to Star City 2040, if you know what I mean. So we'll have to wait and see. But very recently, Charlie Barnett, who we just spoke about, is, John Diggle Jr., recently teased for Arrow Season 8. I think Arrow has some interesting things coming up, and I don't know if I'm committed to the world, let's say. There are lots of worlds going on in Arrow right now. So, yet again, guys, pure speculation, but could we see John Diggle Jr. not only as the leader of the Deathstroke gang in the future facing his brother, Connor Hawke, or adoptive brother, but could Oliver run into him as another character throughout his exploration of the multiverse? So we've been thinking this whole time, Diggle might pick up the Green Lantern, ring, whether that's through another version of him during Crisis. But what if it's his son, John Diggle, the same name, John, in the future, well, not in the future, sorry, but on another freaking Earth? What if we don't see Diggle? I know lots of people might be salty about that in a way because we want to see Diggle fulfill that, but what if it is John Diggle Jr.? That just, makes my mind explode now, but I don't know. So what about all of you guys, which I think is pretty much most of us, what about Stephen Amell's Oliver Queen getting a scene with present day Mia? Could they do that, considering everything else we're learning about the timey-wimey aspect of all of this? Stephen Amell answered when asked about this that there's a pretty good chance that they will get a Mia and Oliver scene. In other interviews, it seems to apply to William too. Mark Guggenheim was also asked this and stated that when they were filming the crossover last year, Stephen Amell and Mark Guggenheim both discussed how it would be a wildly missed opportunity if Oliver and Mia didn't get a chance to meet, with a huge big teasing expression on his face at the interview table. So I think it's a given, and that's going to be a very tear-jerking moment. There's lots of, interviews with Stephen Amell actually talking about that, saying, would he even recognize his daughter? He'd probably pass out. So get excited for that. They've also been discussing Barry and Oliver seeing each other in one way or another before the official Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover begins, even though Crisis technically is all of Arrow, but we're talking about in the first several episodes before it begins. And as I said, they've discussed it, and obviously in the crossover itself, it will be a very key relationship, but for now, it remains to be seen. But I would for real love that, considering how big everything is going to be. If we get some Barry Allen mixed in beforehand, and considering how much of a bromance there's going to be in the crossover itself, capitalize on it even more. Bring Barry in somehow beforehand. Now, what about Felicity returning? After so much digging, there's different kind of answers from different periods in time, like, you know, back at Comic-Con to the TCAs more recently. So you may have heard different things here. Some people saying, you know, I would like to see her come back. Mark Guggenheim saying maybe we're having those conversations. But the most recent information that I could find from Stephen Amell is that when he was asked if Felicity would return for one more episode, he said probably not. So it seems quite unlikely now. But you never say never. Let me put it that way. She might change her mind and they might kind of put it in somehow in the last episode. This next one's interesting, but they're adding in that more kind of Green Arrow quick-witted humor from the comics this season. Stephen Amell said that it's so fun having Josh Shigara, aka Adrian Chase, do what he's doing in the season premiere. So honestly, considering what we saw in the trailer, I really do think that he's playing an alternate Earths version of you know, Green Arrow. It could be Dark Archer, that could be Tommy Merlin, Theorycraft down below, but, you know, like even that comment where he's kind of taking the piss about it being a bit far-fetched about going and being marooned on the island and, you know, la-di-da-da, it makes me think that he might be that character. So that's probably why Stephen Amell's kind of fanboying out himself about what Josh Shigara was doing in the season you know, episode 1 premiere. Now, this next one is very interesting as well, just like all of them are, to be honest, but this one has got me thinking, so I definitely require you guys to comment at least something about this, and that is that Stephen Amell said at Comic-Con that he would be playing multiple characters in Crisis. Then later at the TCAs, in an interview, he said that it would be 2 characters. Now, you could link this in with this season, because Arrow Season 8 is essentially, from what we've been told, Crisis from the beginning. That's why I'm just kind of including this Crisis news in here. But he did say that it's a character that has never even appeared on screen before, and he saw his character's costume in the past few weeks through concept art that he will be doing in the crossover, and he also said at Comic-Con that they're all named Oliver, if that helps. So honestly, guys, I maybe wild speculation, but what if they're honestly gonna introduce a like a goatee kind of Green Arrow with a Robin Hood hat? Now that might be silly. I don't know why I'm thinking it, but just after what I just literally read out to you, you never know. But I'll leave this one to you guys. I mean, it could be a trick. Stephen Amell could be trying to, like, you know, word things. I mean, it could be true, but word things in such a way we perceive things differently. But either way, he's playing 2 characters, apparently, both named Oliver. Or apparently the character's never been seen on screen before, so that's why I immediately thought an iteration of the Green Arrow we've never seen before. But we'll have to wait and see. But that is every kind of thing we know so far, every kind of main thing that I think you guys would want to know going into Arrow Season 8. I will probably do a part 2 to this, as I said, if there is a bunch more stuff to talk about, or I might just do separate videos as of when they come out. But thought I'd do this checkpoint. I would love, as I kept saying throughout this video, for you guys to discuss all of these things. Like the most interesting things being the timey-wimey aspects to it. There's so much potential with this last season. As they kind of said, the last season was really Arrow. You know, it ended with 7/22. But now this is just a movie every single time. So much opportunities they can have with what we've already discussed. It's insane. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like on it. Honestly, I'm guilty of not liking videos sometimes when I watch them. But, you know, if you guys remember and you're at this point and you did enjoy it, just click that thumbs up button. It helps out more than you know. Subscribe for more Arrow videos just like this, just so you never miss out on just that key information or theory videos or video essay discussions. But another thing, guys, I would love for you to join my Discord server just so we can talk and have a conversation, like from you guys to me, about Arrow Season 8. So that link is in the description down below, along with other places you could support me, like my Patreon, where it really does help fuel the content that I create on this channel. Social media, of course, follow me on Twitter. But that's everything, so thank you so much for watching, guys. Sorry I haven't posted an Arrow video in a while. Hope this kind of makes up for it. And I'll see you, Vigilantes, in the next video. Goodbye.